Are you able to see my screen, sir?
Yes, yes.
Is it a slideshow now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, good evening, everyone. It's really very happy and nice to meet you through this forum. Today, we will see about fingertip injuries and how we should manage them. And for discussion purpose, I am broadly dividing the fingertip injuries into these 5 categories: subungual hematoma, simple fracture of the terminal phalanx, nail plate avulsion and nail bed injury, soft tissue injury, partial and total amputation of fingertip. So this is about the anatomy of the fingertip. Fingertip is the part distal to the insertion of flexor digitorum profundus and extensor digitorum. Flexor digitorum profundus inserts to the base of the terminal phalanx in the volar aspect, and volar in the sense the pulp side, and the extensor digitorum inserts into the base of the terminal phalanx in the dorsal aspect. The nail plate is adherent to the underlying nail bed. In the dorsal view, we can see the distal edge of the nail plate, then the 2 lateral nail folds and the proximal nail fold and the cuticle. The crescent-like shaped paler nail plate region represents the lunula. This is the junction of the distal 2/3 sterile matrix and the proximal 1/3 germinal matrix. The germinal matrix is responsible for the formation of new nail. If the patient germinal matrix is lost by an injury, the patient finger loses the capacity to form the nail plate. In the cross section, we can see the nail plate, nail bed, fat tissue, and the distal phalanx bone or the terminal phalanx. It can be called as distal phalanx and terminal phalanx bone, and the pulp, fat tissue, pulp tissue, and the epidermis, that is the skin in the volar aspect. In the sagittal view, we have to see carefully. There is a hyponychium at the junction of the nail plate and the skin. Then continues the nail bed. This is the sterile matrix, and this is the germinal matrix. Here, the germinal matrix comes like a pouch. It is more like a pouch. This is called as the floor of the nail fold, and this is called as the roof of the nail fold. The nail plate sits comfortably in this pouch and is attached to this pouch. This anatomy is very important while treating the fingertip injuries. So, what is a subungual hematoma? Subungual hematoma is collection of blood and blood clots under the nail plate. It causes separation of the nail plate from the nail bed. As there is not much space in there for the hematoma to expand, patient comes to us with throbbing pain. Unless the pain is intolerable, the patient don't reach us. So when the patient comes, to relieve the pain, we do trephination and drainage. Traditionally, a heated paper clip, which is shown in the picture, was used, and the nail plate was drilled, and the hematoma was drained out. Nowadays, we do with the 16 gauge needle. Simple fracture of the terminal phalanx. Most of the time, it doesn't require surgery, but it is very painful and patient needs analgesics. Not only for the fracture of terminal phalanx, all the hand injuries, hand elevation is a very important aspect. We advise the patient to elevate the injured hand by resting it on the opposite shoulder. We prefer this compared to the cuff and collar shoulder elevation, because this causes more reduction of the edema and hence more reduction of the pain. In any closed injury of the terminal phalanx, we should look for the base of the TPX fracture in the X-ray and clinically rule out tendon injury. In an extensor tendon injury, there will be a mallet deformity and a patient won't be able to extend the distal interphalangeal joint. In the FDP, flexor digitorum profundus avulsion, the patient will not be able to flex the distal interphalangeal joint. In case there is a tendon injury is there, the patient requires surgery and repair of the tendon. So these are the basic requirements for a hand operation theater setup. In places like institutes where we regularly do hand surgeries, these will be available. Whereas in places where we have to share the operation theaters, we should make sure that these things are available so that we can be comfortable while operating and our results also will be good. There should be a hand table, not an armrest, or we cannot keep the hand by the side and operate. The shoulder should be 90-degree abducted and the hand should be kept away from the body so that the patient can sit by the side of the hand. And it also allows us to turn the dorsum and volar aspect comfortably without affecting the sterility. Tourniquet. Bloodless field is very much required in fingertip injuries and hand injuries because they allow us to assess the injury properly and do the required repair properly. A finger tourniquet or a pneumatic tourniquet is needed. Anesthesia depends upon patient convenience, surgeon convenience, and the duration of the procedure. It can be a digital block or a regional block in the form of axillary block, supraclavicular block, or bias block, or a general anesthesia. Pre-wash of the hand before draping the hand is very important because most of the hand injuries will be having lot of contamination. Like for example, in a road traffic accident, there will be lot of sand particles, and in workplace injury there will be lot of grease. These things can be removed by doing proper pre-wash, and does this prevents the sterile sheets being contaminated or soiled. And this pre-wash is not enough. Once the draping is over, we have to do a thorough irrigation. I prefer to irrigate the wound with a 5 ml syringe, saline filled 5 ml syringe, and I do it forcefully and push the plunger forcefully so that all the small particles which are adherent to the wound will be washed away. Fine instruments are must, including the needle holder and other instruments. But most commonly, what we find difficulty in many places are the Hudson tooth forceps and iris curved scissors and a small sized bone cutter to shape the terminal phalanx or the middle phalanx head. Illumination, that is the operation theater light. Most of the hand surgery procedures are done in a proper illumination facility, in a proper light in operation theater, or a good illumination is must. Without illumination, we cannot utilize the loop well, and we can't assess the wound properly. Magnification in the form of loop or a microscope. Loop can provide us magnification from 2.5x to 4x. Routinely, we prefer somewhere from 3.2 to 4x. Microscope can give us magnification till 10x. Suture materials, apart from the microvascular suture materials, what is required is 408 Ethelon for skin suturing, 60 Vicryl for nail bed repair, 40 monofilament in case of children, so that we need not remove the stitch later. And for dressing, most of the hand dressings will require a plaster of Paris slab because that helps the patient to keep the hand elevated, and the pain is also less, and edema is also less when a POP slab is applied. And we prefer to do a non-adherent dressing, as even some small oozing can cause the gauze to stick with the wound, and it will be very difficult to remove the gauze while doing the dressing. Even for single finger dressing, we prefer to use a crepe bandage dressing. We cut the crepe bandage accordingly, and then we drape we do the dressing with the crepe bandage since it holds the gauze better. So first part of our injuries, we have seen two. This is the third one. This is nail plate avulsion and nail bed injury together, because most of the time both occurs together. This is a simple nail plate avulsion in a small child which happened in the door hinge. This is the right hand of the patient. You can see the nail plate of the ring and middle finger has come out of its place. That is between the floor and roof of the nail fold. This has to be put back, and this has to be put back under anesthesia And before putting it back, we have to wash the wound thoroughly. Beneath the nail plate and nail bed, there might be some blood which might be collected. On removal of it, the pain will be less and healing will be faster. Second thing is we have to lift the nail plate and look for any associated nail bed injury. If nail bed injury is there, it has to be repaired. So this is an adult patient for whom there was a nail plate avulsion. On lifting the nail plate, we can see that the nail bed is laceration is there. So this is after nail bed repair, the nail plate was repositioned into its place. This is called as partial nail plate avulsion. When a part of the nail plate is still adherent to the nail bed, it is called as partial nail plate avulsion. A total or complete nail plate avulsion is when the nail plate is lying loosely outside without contact of the nail bed. So whenever we have the nail plate, we want to retain and reposition the nail plate. We don't want to throw away the nail plate because it gives less pain in subsequent dressings, and also it causes better healing by staying as a biological dressing. And to place the nail take position between the roof and floor of the nail holes, we have to lift this part, roof of the nail hole. Sometimes due to injury, it might stick together and it might be difficult. So we can either lift it by a skin hook or we can insert an iris scissor between the roof and floor of the nail hole. And we have to place the nail plate under vision. And as told earlier, wound irrigation is very, very important in all the fingertip injuries. This stitch is called as figure of 8 stitch. It is used to retain the nail plate in its position once we place it. This is number 1, number 2, this is number 3, number 4. So we start from number 1, go subcutaneously and come out to number 2, then come to number 3 outside and go subcutaneously from number 3 to 4 and again reach number 1 and place the knot over here. This stitch we tend to remove by 7 to 10 days. So nail bed injury. There are 4 types of nail bed injuries which can happen. One is a transverse or vertical laceration, which we have seen in the picture, in the clinical photo, a transverse laceration. It should be repaired with 60 vicryl, and cutting needle is preferred. Even a 60 vicryl with round body, we cannot take stitches. We will be damaging the remaining nail bed. And sometimes that may also lead to loss of nail bed. A stellate laceration is a multiple irregular laceration. This has to be sutured back carefully by reposing the tissues, and this definitely requires a loop and illumination. Loss of nail bed. When there is a loss of segmental loss of nail bed, like here it is lost, we can take a split thickness graft from the toe nail bed and place it and suture it. What we see in the picture is nail bed avulsion. At the level of germinal matrix, the nail bed has completely avulsed and come out, and the floor of the nail fold is lying over the roof of the nail fold. We put it back inside, and to retain it, we take the stitch. We use 40 ethylon, start it. Generally, when we take a stitch in the dorsum of the skin, we should not forget that from the hyponychium area or the cuticle area, from the cuticle area, there will be 5 millimeter underlying nail fold region is there. That we should not forget. So the stitch should be away from this nail fold area. So we start the suture from here, get inside to the floor of the germinal matrix, take a bite through and through to the nail avulsed nail bed, and again come back to the germinal matrix and come out to the skin and tie the knot here. So this is nail bed avulsion. Why do we need to repair the nail bed injury? Nail bed injuries are operated to prevent the nail deformity and to ensure proper growth of the nail. When we need to, in the picture D, we can see 2 incisions. That is when there is a laceration in the germinal matrix, how to expose the germinal matrix. The incision should be always made at 90-degree angles from the eponychium. So we will come to the next one, soft tissue injury. It can be with or without skin loss, and other component will be whether the bone is exposed or not exposed when there is a tissue, when there is a skin loss. So before going how we are going to manage, we will see the we will see case presentations. This is a patient with a simple injury in the, this looks like a simple injury in the terminal phalangeal region. It is a laceration, and there is a, we can see the pulp fat tissue are protruding out, though the patient has come to us immediately after the injury. Because of the edema, the pulp fat tissue are protruding out. We have to do under tourniquet and under illumination, under magnification, rule out any other injuries like nail bed injuries. And if there is a nail bed, concomitant nail bed injury, we have to repair that too. And when we suture, we don't take deep bites. We take superficial bites because there are little tissue, pulp tissue is there. We don't want them to get strangulated, or we don't want to lose those tissue by resultant edema. So we take superficial stitches, and just beneath the dermis we take the suture, and we tie the knot gently, not tight, because we don't want any stress over the tissue. Because these laceration, though it appears simple, too many stitches and tight stitches and deep stitches can compromise the vascularity. Sometimes it may even lead to loss of the fingertip. So this is the patient late post-op. He is able to type well. It took him almost 8 weeks to start typing in the same speed as he used to do before the injury. Soft tissue injury without skin loss, how do we manage them? When they are superficial, we do only dressings, and they are classified into slicing and crush injury. Slicing injuries are those which happen with knife while cutting vegetables or something, that the edges will be clean, so we can approximate. In crush injury, like the previous patient whom we see in the picture, we have to excise the ragged edges and make them clean edge, and then excise the protruding pulp fat. When we make a suture, if a pulp fat is coming and protruding in between the two stitches, we have to remove it. Then only it will heal soon and it will heal better. We use simple sutures, and 4-0-ethylone is preferred. This is another patient. Here there is we will concentrate on the middle finger. There is a tissue loss is there, and bone is not exposed. In this index finger, he has a MPX fracture, and it comes under partial amputation, about which we will see later. So for this patient, he also had a concomitant. He had a not only middle finger and index finger injury, he had a 5th metacarpal neck fracture and also distal radius fracture. He underwent distal radius fracture volar plate fixation and skin suturing of the index finger, K-wire fixation of the 5th metacarpal, and then split skin grafting of the middle finger. The split skin grafting can be harvested from either forearm, arm, or thigh. It basically depends upon the surgeon's convenience and patient convenience. Nowadays, patients are very particular that they don't want grafts to be harvested for exposed region like forearm. They want it to be hidden in arm or thigh. This is another patient where this is the tissue skin loss. Here we have applied a second layer Palmar graft. It is also called as dermal Palmar graft. First we harvest a layer, and this is the first layer. It is opened like a book. It consists of epidermis and dermis. This second layer consists only dermis. This layer is excised and applied over the wound, and we should apply it carefully without reversing the graft. That is, the upward portion should stay upward in the wound. This is the upward portion. It should be upward over here. You see the late follow-up picture of that. wound. Another patient, he had a burn wound. He waited for some time thinking it might heal on its own. Once it didn't heal, he came to us. This is the defect after debridement. The terminal phalanx bone is exposed. We have taken a cross finger flap from the middle finger, dorsum of the middle phalangeal region of the middle finger. This is the cross finger flap. This is called as insert given into the defect. This is called as primary defect in plastic surgery terminology. This is called as primary defect, and this is called as secondary defect. That is the raw area which comes after raising the flap. This raw area for this particular patient has been resurfaced by a harvest of an elliptical full thickness skin graft from the wrist crease region. You can see the sutures, subcuticular suture after the graft has been harvested. Here the skin graft has been, full thickness skin graft has been fixed to the middle finger, and the flap has been given. The process of attaching the flap to the defect is called as insert. The insert of the flap is given. After 14 days, we divide the flap over here. By 14 days, the flap gets the vascularity from the wound bed and the surrounding of the wound and starts surviving on its own. And then we finish suturing at this margin. And we also have to make, while division, 1 or 2 stitches at this junction of the flap margin and the graft. So this is the follow-up. This is the well settled cross finger flap. This is the donor site of the flap. This is the full thickness skin graft donor site of the in the wrist. So after seeing these case scenarios, we will sum up how do we approach a soft tissue injury with skin loss. So smaller defects like those, like the one shown in the picture, where the defect is 0.5 to 1 centimeter, bone is not exposed and mostly superficial, it heals with dressings. And we have to make sure that the wound doesn't get infected. So he will require antibiotics and strict hand elevation. Hand elevation plays a major role in healing of the fingertip injuries. That should not be ignored, and it has to be repeatedly stressed during every visit. Only then the patient will follow it. A defect of more than 0.5 centimeter, if the bone is not exposed, we have 3 options. The split thickness skin grafting seen in the picture, full thickness skin grafting. We usually harvest from the ulnar border of the palm and ellipse and suture it primarily for need of full thickness skin grafting for all our side defects. And third one will be a palmar graft. Third option will be the bone exposed defects which are more than 0.5 centimeter. This will require a flap cover. The skin graft will not take over exposed tendons or bones. It will take over peritoneum and periosteum, but it will not take over the exposed tendons and bones. So those sort of patient needs flap cover. And sometimes the skin graft scar might be very painful for some patients. So for fingertip region, if the wound is very deep, we prefer flap cover over skin graft. So the options for flap cover will be local flaps, that is flaps from the same finger. We will see in the subsequent slides about the VY advancement flap and bilateral VY advancement flap. Regional flaps will be the cross finger flap, which we have seen already, taken from the adjacent finger. The thenar flap is an example for regional flap. Distant flap, sometimes this doesn't happen for a single fingertip injury. Maybe 2 or 3 fingers are injured. We cannot cover the area with the regional flaps. We go for distant flap. It can be from the abdomen or groin. And sometimes patient will need microvascular tissue transfer from toe. This is a picture from the book where the patient has lost the pulp from the little finger. From the great toe, this pulp was harvested. Sometime we need to harvest the pulp with the adjoining nail bed and then apply it for the tip level requirements. So this is the late picture where the toe pulp has well settled in the little finger. This requires microvascular anastomosis of the artery and vein of the great toe to that of the little finger. So next clinical scenario will be the partial amputation. First, we will see two clinical scenarios and then we will go how we are going to manage partial amputation. This is scenario one. It is this is a partial amputation. We can see that only this pulp tissue is in continuity, but this is more than enough to supply the blood to the tip and the finger will survive. Our surgery is important and post-op care in the form of hand elevation and POP are important and antibiotics are also required. So this patient shows a tuft of TPX fracture also. Patient underwent under anesthesia, thorough, she being a young girl, we have to do under general anesthesia. Thorough wash, under magnification and proper illumination, and the fracture was molded in the sense it was reduced. No K wires or plates were used to fix the fracture. That is the meaning of molding. And skin suturing was done. This is the post-op. So this is another scenario. This is a very old gentleman with cardiac issues and everything. He went to feed his domestic cow. The cow was a cow caught his thumb in its mouth, and it didn't come off completely. It was attached through some structures, but on arrival, the thumb was looking. There's a distal to the laceration. The thumb was looking pale. It was cold. These are all signs that the thumb is not viable. And to confirm, we always do this, how to assess the partial amputations, whether it is viable or not. We have to hold the finger, stabilize the finger gently. We should not press it too tightly, because if we press it too tightly, the accumulated blood might come out. So we hold it gently and then insert a needle. I'm using a 23 gauge needle here. We can even use a 11 blade, and we have to see. If one drop of blood alone comes, we have to irrigate with syringe saline. If the drop comes continuously, it means the thumb is viable. Otherwise, that drop of blood could be accumulated blood, and the flow of the blood will be bright red in color. This particular patient, the thumb was not viable. On exploration, both the sides, artery and veins, were injured badly, maybe because of the pulling nature of the injury. It was not fit for revascularization. So this finger, which is not completely out of the body, attached to the body, is called as partial amputation, but the finger is not viable. If we are able to make the finger survive by doing an arterial or a venous repair, the procedure is termed as revascularization. He underwent a shortening closure eventually. So when we see, to sum up, when we see a partial amputation, we assess the viability. If viable, we do molding of the fracture and skin suturing and a dorsal POP. Most of the times, we don't do K-wire fixation of the fracture for a fingertip amputation, because the K-wire itself can add as a additional insult and cause the necrosis of the fingertip. So we do to the reactionary edema or swelling. So in case in some wounds which are like ways of the TPX thumb fractures, the finger might not be staying in position. It might be wobbling even after PSS, primary skin suturing and molding. In that case, we either pass a single attempt 0.8 mm or 1 mm K-wire is used to stabilize the TPX, terminal phalanx. TPX means terminal phalanx. If non-viable, the options are revascularization. Look whether the vessels are under loop magnification or microscopic magnification. Look whether the vessels are amenable for an arterial or a venous repair. If revascularization is not possible, the patient is managed as same as the total amputation, above which we are going to see now. So before going into how to manage the total amputation, we will see some case scenarios. Then we will sum up how we will manage total amputation. So this is a complete total amputation. You can see he sustained the injury while cleaning his bike chain. It is at the base of the TPX level. The amputated segment was first taken to the operation theater. It was dissected and the artery was identified. At this level, there won't be any vein in the dorsum. So we do the anastomosis of the vein in the volar side itself. Volar vein only is anastomosed. And volar vein was very difficult to find. So routinely for replantations, we first do the vein and then do the artery repair. For this patient, once we identified the nerves, arteries, and vein on both the sides, we fixed the TPX bone. I would use the word stabilized rather than fixed with a single K wire. And then the arterial digital nerve was repaired, and then the arterial anastomosis was done. Since the finger went in for some congestion, all the stitches in the volar aspect were removed. Just this one stitch is enough to cause the compromise the blood supply to the fingertip. Once the stitch was removed, the finger became pink, so we leave it. Most of the wounds heal with time on its own. This is the late follow-up of the patient. This is another scenario where we couldn't find any vessel in the distal amputated segment. So only the nail bed of the amputated segment was taken and kept as a composite graft. When we keep the graft from the amputated segment, we call it as a composite graft. If we place the entire amputated segment, it is called as composite graft of the finger. This graft will survive in 3-year-old children. After 3 years old, we find that the composite graft process doesn't takes well, and it always undergoes necrosis. So this was an adult man. We did another option called as graft reposition on flap. Here, the nail bed with the part of TPX bone was fixed to the TPX bone by a single K wire, and then the volar side defect was covered by a cross finger flap taken from the middle phalanx of the ring finger. This is a total amputation. We can see there is injury to the germinal matrix also. The germinal matrix was repaired with 60 Vicryl under loop magnification. She is a young lady. She sustained the injury while operating a mixer grinder in her home. So she was particular, and she was keen to have some sort of nail. If this injury has come in a laborer in the sense, I mean, persons who work in construction or who do heavy job, who cannot come for another surgery in case if needed, this type of wound may require amputation. This patient, we explained to her. The explanation and understanding is must in these sort of procedures. They should not think everything will become all right after the surgery and later give us the complaint. She was told that the nail bed was fully damaged. If we reconstruct the remaining nail bed, it may cause problem to her by the hooked nail getting caught in the dresses. It may cause pain. In case for typing, the nail might be a disturbances. In case these sort of disturbances come, she has to undergo a secondary procedure in the form of revision of the stump. Was explained, and she wanted to have whatever nail is left behind. I would like to have, doctor. That was her answer. And here we have done a VY flap. This I will mark the V of the flap in this hand, in this finger. So we mark like this, and the flap advances for 0.5 to 0.8 centimeter, and the V becomes like a Y. The advanced portion is sutured vertically, and the V becomes Y. So these two wounds, the debridement was done, thorough wash given, surgical debridement and mechanical debridement was done, and simple sutures were made. So this is the wound after healing. This patient also had a nail bed injury in the ring finger, which was repaired. Patient is happy with the nail bed, has not come to me for secondary procedure. She is able to manage with the nail. This is another patient who had total amputation of the fingertip. He didn't bring the amputated part, so we proceeded with a double cross finger flap. For the middle finger, we took cross finger from the ring finger, and for the index finger, we took cross finger from the middle finger. This middle finger, there is no injury in the middle phalangeal region. So there is no contraindication to harvest the flap from the middle phalangeal region. It doesn't cause any compromise or it doesn't cause any problem. So this is the late follow-up. You can see the well-settled cross finger flaps for the fingertip stump. And these are the donor areas of the cross finger flap. Here we used split skin grafting harvested from the thigh. So this is the third scenario. On first look, we think that there is no nail bed is present. Careful examination under loop magnification and illumination revealed a crushed nail bed. This is the nail bed which is available, and this is what I'm holding in my hand also has some nail bed with skin. All the nail bed were reposed and sutured, and a thenar flap raised from the thenar region of the hand was applied. This flap was divided after 14 days, and this is the late result. In case if we are not able to preserve the nail bed, we do a shortening closure. While doing this shortening closure, we should be meticulous. We don't want the patient to come again for secondary procedure. We should be removing entire germinal matrix. Otherwise, a rudimentary nail will come from the stump and we have to revise the procedure. And the tip should be bulky with fat contents so that it doesn't cause any painful stump while doing his day-to-day activities. And the stump should be conical so that it can fit the finger prosthesis later. So this is how we manage. We commonly divide into, there are two classifications. First is the Allen's classification. Allen 1 is distal to the nail bed. Allen 2 is distal to the terminal phalanx bone. And Allen 3 is distal to the nail fold. Allen 4 is proximal to the nail fold. The significance is in 1, 2, 3, there will be olar veins alone available. In 4, there is a high chance to obtain a dorsal vein for anastomosis. This is for total complete amputation. This is the classification which is more useful, called as Fassler classification. This is also for total amputation. They classify into volar amputation, volar oblique, transverse, and dorsal oblique. C is a transverse amputation. Whichever side the tissue is lost is more, that is called as that side oblique. So volar side tissue loss is more, it is called as volar oblique. Dorsal side tissue loss is more, it is called as dorsal oblique. By explaining which side is the amputation, we can decide what procedures we can do. For example, for a volar oblique amputation, type Fassler type A will do with skin graft. Type B will need a cross finger flap or thenar flap. Apart from cross finger flap and thenar flap, there are numerous flaps, but for simplification purpose, I am talking only about these two flaps. And type C is a transverse amputation. It needs a bilateral VY flap from either side of the neutral line. That we will see a picture in the subsequent slides. For dorsal oblique amputation, we do volar VY advancement flap. So to sum up, a total amputation, assess the amputated part under magnification. If it is fit for replant, do a replantation. If it is not fit for replant, we have 5 options. One is the composite graft. Apply after debridement, apply the entire amputated part over the stump. Done for children less than 3 years. And the graft reposition of flap, the nail bed part alone with a part of bone is retained, and the volar side is covered with a flap cover, a cross finger flap or a thenar flap. And to preserve the length, we can cover the stump with the flap. VY advancement flap we saw on the lady, or even a cross finger flap for that. Shortening closure, when we can't preserve the nail bed and we have to shorten the bone to close the stump nicely, we saw how to do the shortening closure. And last but not the least is the toe transfer. This is a picture of a bilateral VY advancement flap done for a transverse amputation. Both sides has been raised, a V form is raised and closed as a Y form. It gives the good tip for the safe use of the patient. This doesn't cause a painful stump or anything, and it also gives this aesthetically pleasing appearance for the patient. It is called as Cutler flap. And this is toe transfer. This the thing is even for thumb, if the tip is is lost, the functional length of the finger is not compromised. That is, the patient can do all the activities even if the fingertip part of the finger is lost. So this is mainly done for aesthetic purpose. And some patients do tell that after the transfer, they feel the function is better. This is a double toe transfer. Both the sides, second toe has been harvested, and under microscope, artery, vein, and nerve has been repaired to the finger, artery, vein, and nerve. So last but not the least, how to bring the amputated parts safely. When we are in a referral center, the hospital which is sending us patients, we have to tell them any hand injury patient, we should ask them to keep the hand elevated above the heart level and send the patient. That is number one, we have to inform them. Second, what we have to inform is how to transfer the amputated part. The amputated part should be thoroughly washed in saline, wrapped in a saline gauze, and put in a plastic cover. That plastic cover is put in another plastic cover containing ice. The amputated part should never come in direct contact with the ice because the cold will damage the vessels in the amputated part. Attempt of replantation at this level can be made up to 24 hours after amputation. There are case reports of successful replantation even after 72 hours after the amputation. So these will be the books which I have referred. Thank you for patiently listening and providing the opportunity. Any doubts? Can I stop screen sharing, or Dr. Ahmad?
Yes. Now can let anyone to ask any question. Welcome, Dr. Ahmed.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Sabashini.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Glad to catch the last minutes because we were traveling theater. Thank you very much for elaborating the fingertip injury. Actually,
yes,
I am a general surgeon doing laparoscopic surgery early in my life, 2007. I faced a very interesting case. I faced a patient, 26 years old female, that she's just about to get married, and she went to a salon for beauty.
Okay.
So she make what we call black henna in her hair, and after that she apply a. Can I have that mic off, please? Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. You are clear.
Yes, yes, you can continue. And she applied black henna. Then after that, she applied what we call it mage, or hair color.
Okay.
Using the gloves that came with the bag. But unfortunately, it was a very poorly stored, though the gloves were injured her tip of finger. And she lost the tip of finger up to the bone of the distal phalanx.
Oh.
I remember I worked before doing my first part in surgery. I worked with a very eminent plastic surgeon who is Usama Murtada in Sudan. And
yes,
I have some bit of experience at that moment. I did have what we call it a finger cross flap.
Yes, cross finger flap.
The message that I need to just deliver that there is no what we call black henna in the nature. Henna is brown.
Yes.
By adding phenylalanine to it, it became dark.
Yes.
So unfortunately, a lot of these cosmetic products, it came to our country through a black market, poorly stored, and people are using it, especially young females, and they end with some very devastating outcome. Hoping that if I can have a screen share to show you the injured part of the finger. Can I have the screenshot, the host, please?
Yes, sir. Sure, sure.
Okay, I will share my screen. Uh, is my screen shared to you now?
Yes, sir, we can see.
You are seeing what I'm sharing in the screen right now?
Yes.
Are you seeing this mahogany henna, black henna, and
Yes,
this hair
yes,
color?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is a girl which came to me using these two products, and this is a finger cross flap. I did it in 2007
Okay.
in a
Okay.
very remote area. It's called Alban Jadid Hospital, very district
Yes.
hospital.
Yes, sir.
So this is the cross finger flap. Are you seeing the
It's
picture?
actually, yes, yes, sir. I'm seeing it is an excellent thing. The timely cross finger flap has saved the nail bed. If you have not done the cross finger flap at that point of time, and if the wound has become infected, there is a high chance that we would have lost the finger length somewhat. The reason in the fingertip is we can't afford to lose the length. That means an entire joint till the joint we may lose. It's a very nice work, sir. It is a very excellent work. Hats off.
Thank you very much. Just I needed to tell the audience that not only trauma to the finger that it matter, but also the chemical injury of the finger.
Yes.
It is very serious.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sapashini.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is there any comment or any question to our guest? Professor Karthikeyan,
Hello.
you can
Yeah,
comment.
hello. Yes, that
Hello.
was
Nice
very
to meet you again.
yeah, nice to meet you all. That was a very nice presentation by Dr. Subhashini.
Thank you, sir.
She spoke about all the fingertip injuries very exhaustively and explained every single procedure very well. I hope it was very useful to all our Sudanese friends in the Surgeons Club. Thank you, Dr. Subhashini.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
If there is no more question, we can summarize and conclude, Dr. Subhashini.
Okay. So the important message which I want to convey is fingertip injury, timely intervention is a must one. So when in doubt, we have to take the help of the specialist. And second thing is the surgery for the fingertip is better. We can assess the damage better and do our repair better under the loop magnification and the presence of a good light and with pain free and under tourniquet control. These are all the must things, and we should not try to do with the things which are not available. For example, to nibble a bone, terminal phalanx bone, we need the small size bone cutter. We can't do a good job with a big size bone cutter. Likewise, for suturing also, 4-0-ethylon is preferable compared to 2-0-ethylon. 2-0-ethylon, the thread is thicker, it might itself cause a pressure and cause damage to the blood supply. So these are the summing up points. And I really enjoyed and I was happy I'm able to share so much with all of you. Hope it was useful for you.
On behalf of all members of our Sudanese Surgical Club, great thanks, Dr. Subhashini, consultant plastic surgery, and we hope to meet you again the next time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.